also ask me questions. Feel free to post your questions in the chat window. And once we gone through the some set of slides I've prepared, and we will then take up the questions and have more Q&A. I'm used to hearing my own voice, so I wouldn't want to keep talking more. I would love to hear from all of you because you are the ones who are much more brimming with far more newer ideas, and I'm very excited to chat with all of you here. Yeah, so I'll share my screen. Let me know you guys are able to see my screen there.
Yes, yeah? It's perfectly visible. Yeah.
Perfect. 1 second, guys. Yeah. Can you see my screen and hear my voice clearly,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Perfect. So today, this is the topic that I was given for the last theme for the masterclass series here, which is how to become a great founder. And I have added one additional component in that title, which is in the studio era of agriculture. Now, what is studio era and all of that I'll explain. The brief that I was given was how should entrepreneurs, especially in the agri-tech space, think about themselves, the company and the team to become a great founder. So it's a Friday today. So I am going to really try my best to make this entertaining because it's very difficult to keep the energy and speak when you can't really see what you guys are doing and when you can't have a close eye contact with all of you, right? So I would really love to see, feel free to pause me if you want, if you're not understanding anything. I tend to speak a bit fast, so I will really slow down today. But if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. We have time, I'm told by the organizers, till 3:40. So I would really love to make it interactive one, right? So here's the agenda for today. I'm going to set the context a bit in terms of who I am, where do I come from, what do I do? And then we're going to talk about two more things. One is we're going to talk about the studio era of agriculture. What do I mean by that? I'll explain all of that in the presentation. Then I'm going to share 8 learnings for agri-tech entrepreneurs. I have been in the field in agri-tech domain since 2017. Maybe I'll give you a bit of my background also. So I used to lead products in a traceability firm. We built a traceability platform that has been used by Bayer, PI Industries, FMC, and many other agri-input companies across India. And of course, some parts of the Europe as well. And since 2019, I've been an independent agri-tech consultant and a researcher. I write this newsletter called Agri Business Matters. Now, you would see that there is an elephant in this in the logo that I put here, right? Any guesses why there is an elephant here in Agri Business Matters? Guys, I would love to hear it engaging, right? I'm not gonna just rant on my dialogue there. Any clues why? Is there a speaker thing that they can also share in here? Because it's slow moving business. Okay, great. Any other responses? Okay, how many of you have heard this story? There is this story that it came in an English poem also, which I'm told that some people don't understand English, so I'm going to also mix some bit of Hindi here with whatever tuta futa Hindi I know. I'm from South, so मेरा इतना अच्छा हिंदी नहीं है, but फिर भी मैं कोशिश करूँगा आप लोगों से हिंदी में भी थोड़ा मिक्स करके बात करने में. कुछ लोगों ने आपने सुना होगा कि there's a story, where this 6 blind men they see this elephant, and each of them is able to only touch that part of the elephant, right? So now, obviously, based on the parts they see, they think that this is how the elephant is. Somebody touches hold of this, somebody touches hold the tail and thinks that the elephant is actually moving faster like the tail. Somebody touches the feet and thinks that the elephant is only this part, which is the very solid feet that is there. Somebody thinks the trunk and thinks that it's always moving. So likewise, in agriculture also, there's this massive elephant that is lying here, right? And each of us come from different backgrounds, see different parts of the elephant. Some of us see the more solid parts, which is where the agriculturists are seen. Some see the legs that are moving, and they are probably the environmentalists who are also seeing this. There are also the development professionals who care about, who look at development, poverty, and all of those questions. And lastly, we also have these technology people like me and venture capitalists also who are also looking at this side. And sometimes it's very difficult to really step back and observe. When you see this kind of a massive elephant, right? And agriculture and agribusiness is the oldest business in some sense. So how do you then make sense of what's happening? So in a nutshell, if I really talk about what do, I review startups as a film critic. I think of me as a film critic for an agri-tech, right? I talked about movies. I'm going to give a lot of movie examples here because I love movies and it's a Friday, and I really want to make this very entertaining and at the same time insightful. So what do? A major part of my work is I review a lot of agri-tech startups whenever they raise funds, and I write about their business model in great detail. I talk about what kind of business model is, how is it solving a particular problem. I go into the depths of it based on my experience being in this industry since 2017. And apart from that, what else do I do? So, the common image of a critic is something like this, right? But, critics have also made movies in the past. If you see the film critics of the past, even in India, you would see, right? In India, there have been film critics who also made movies. I'm sure many of you probably may not know this gentleman. He is this gentleman who made this. His name is Francois Truffaut, who was a French movie critic. And he gave such bad reviews for all movies that people hated him. He was called as the grave digger of French cinema. And then what he did, he actually made a phenomenal movie called 400 Blows, which became a cult phenomenon. The reason why I'm sharing this is, if you really compare, if you see what's happening in the films and what's happening in the agri-tech world, there's something very interestingly similar. Now, in the 60s, right, if you really go back to the Hollywood, the movies era, there were a lot of people who were critics who became movies and who were challenging the existing norms. And that same thing is happening right now in agriculture. With the amount of funding that's going in, with the amount of technology that's coming in, today a whole new set of people are coming in, what I call as the new wave agri-tech movement. How many of you know this gentleman? Okay. This is a film director called Quentin Tarantino. He was a great film critic. He ran a film cassette library, and then he became a great filmmaker. So now, especially the reason, and he is the kind of filmmaker who became an extremely popular filmmaker in the 60s and 70s in the Hollywood. After the 60s and 70s, influenced by that, and he came to the industry there. So today we see a similar wave of agri-tech where people are coming in challenging the old norms, and especially after pandemic, because the pandemic has given this extremely interesting gap where the new players can catch up with the old. Because of the pandemic, the way it changed the fundamental disruptions it brought in, it really brought in a lot of opportunity for newer players to come into the space, and that has created a phenomenal set of opportunities. So so that the reason why I'm saying all of this is it's a great time to be in agri-tech, and I'm so excited to see the amount of participants here who are all trying to build new businesses here. In this, if I were I would be really curiously looking at what's all happening there and studying there. But there's a problem in all of this, right? Typically, what happens is most entrepreneurs, once they set their goals on what they want to build, they don't have any curiosity. And that's why I said this, the price of curiosity is, entrepreneurship, the price of entrepreneurship is curiosity. Oftentimes when you're an entrepreneur, you have your set goals on what you want to build and how much you want to scale, and you're going on, right? It's the equivalent of how a Pac-Man game goes on, right? Anything you see, you're continuously absorbing, and then continuously you're moving in the game. You're moving in the maze that has been built by you, right? And it's almost like similar to what happens in Matrix, right? When an entrepreneur comes in, he's trying to convert him to become his ideologue or a supporter, or he thinks he's not of my time. It's not worth wasting time on him. So that if you really look at it, entrepreneurship is a fascinating exploration where you are designing this game in which you are going to play. And that's why I as a gamer, I also love this. I want to give this example, right? When you're employed or when you're working under somebody, Others are going to design the game and you're going to play the game there. But when you're an entrepreneur, you have to design the entire game rules. You have to decide how people will move. You have to decide everything about it. And if you're and it can also have the price of it, right? If you're not really paying attention to it, you can get consumed in your own game. So in essence, what really makes entrepreneurship a great option for, at least for those who are choosing to do it, is the fact that you can design this whole game, and you can also design what's the score you want to get, right? So with that said, I really now want to, yes, Amitabh Chaudhary is rightly pointing out that he is the QT and Kill Bill Wala. Exactly, he is the guy there. So now we are going to talk about what I mean by studio era of agriculture. So if you really look at the, now here's where again I go back to some part of the history of films, right? For a very valid reason. If you see the way the film industry of the worldwide happened, right? How many of you remember him? Let me start from this question. Guys, I would love to engage with you, and I'm not going to भाषण में देने के लिए नहीं आया हूँ. आप लोगों से जवाब करेंगे, हम सवाल जवाब करेंगे, तभी हम बातचीत कर पाएंगे. एक सिंपल सवाल है ये. If you guys can answer, it will be great. So,
sorry to interrupt you. If you want, I can give them the speaking rights. So
yes, please give that. Please give.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm allowing the participants to unmute themselves now, so as to have an interactive session with him. Yes. Guys, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Please unmute and just make sure if you're not speaking, just please mute it so that it doesn't. Yeah, everyone else can also hear it. Yes. Yeah. Anybody know?
That's Charlie Chaplin.
Exactly. Now, what Charlie? What made Charlie Chaplin great of his times?
Charlie Chaplin.
हाँ, तो Charlie Chaplin उनके बारे में हम क्यों इतना बात करते हैं? तो Charlie Chaplin.
Comedian.
He's a comedian, yes. Any other examples? Any other reason why you think he was a great in his times?
Because he thought outside the box.
Okay, that's everybody thinks outside the box. What did Charlie Chaplin do? What about the times he lived in which made him a great actor?
Wasn't it during like post World War era?
Correct. See, you are very close. Yes, go ahead.
Everyone needed something to be happy about and laugh about, and that's what made him special.
Yes, that's a good example. There's another important aspect here, right? Have you seen? Yes, sir. Who is this gentleman?
Kapil here. Moreover, he worked during the silent era of films. Like there were no voiceovers.
Exactly. That's the good. Nailed it. Your good name?
Kapil, sir.
Kapil. Okay. Hey, please call me Venki. I don't want any sirs here. We've gone past the age where we call addresses by sirs. So, see, what made Charlie Chaplin special was he belonged in an era where there were silent films, which means there was no sound in the entire movie. And that made the actor's job much more difficult. But if you really look at the history of films, when sound got introduced in films, the entire landscape changed. Right? And that's what happened in the Hollywood industry in the 1920s to 1960s. When sound came, the players started to reorganize themselves and become so big that today we still know all of these 5 people. If you see all the 5 big players who became big in the world of film cinema, it was happened during this period because they exploited a new change, a new normal that happened in that period between 1920 to 1960. Now, what was that new normal? Sound was being introduced after World War II. So there was a lot of changes in the entire environment. So a lot of Jews came into Hollywood. They came into Los Angeles. They became massive entrepreneurs. And today we still know them for all this massive scale because essentially what they're doing, right? If you really look at it, they are pretty much the ones who are controlling the production, the distribution, the theater, and also the actors. Now, do you know any other industry where you can control production, distribution, also decide who is going to come in and who is going to work for you? Can you remember that domain in which all of this is possible? Which other domain in which you can control the production and distribution much more effectively than any other domain?
Agriculture.
Exactly. So today, if you see the large players, right, be it in India or in China or elsewhere in the world, right? Today, each of the big players have become bigger simply by the fact that we are in this kind of times where it is much more possible to go bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And that's what you see in the likes of Cargill and Bayer and Pinduoduo and Corteva. And it could also be somebody like you with a startup who has a promise and who can actually become the next big company that is either as much bigger as each of these companies, right? So now let's get to specifics, right? I've talked at a high 20,000 feet level. Let's go down at a very basic level of why do I say that we can own and control production and distribution in this sector, and which is more than any other sector, right? Now, if you fundamentally look at how internet disrupted the markets, right? There were only three players fundamentally in any value chain, in any consumer value chain. There were the suppliers, there were distributors, and there were users, right? Now, in each of these value chains, likewise, you draw parallels from agriculture, say, right? In any domain in agriculture, there are only three players. There is an agricultural input suppliers, and there is a producer who is actually the farmer. By the way, farmer is not a word I would recommend, because farmer is not a gender neutral word. Farmer is mostly a male, so I would prefer to use the word producer. And I think that's considering the fact that in India there's so many women farmers who are involved in agriculture, it makes sense to call them producers rather than farmers. And then there is also the agricultural output buyers, right? So this agriculture output buyers, now these are the three players, right? Now come back to the consumer world. In consumer world, how do you make money? You essentially, there are two choices. You either choose one of these three and you create a horizontal monopoly on it and you grow your business and scale. Or you choose two of these three and then you scale your business and grow big. Now, this is what has happened all through the industries, right? You take the newspaper. In newspaper, they integrated editorial and ads, and they controlled the distribution. So in other words, they ensured that they owned the production and then they controlled the distribution. And this was way before the internet I'm talking about, right? And then they were able to integrate the bund, and then they able to grow bigger. The same happened in the case of TV, right? Where you see that people integrated programming, which is what the content of the movies and what kind of movies, and then they also integrated with ads, which essentially made the couch potatoes that came in there. So you see now a similar thing happening in agriculture world, which has been there for a longer period of time. You see the input players; they are the ones who are bundling and who are combining both extension services and credit, and then they're giving them to the producers. Similarly, in the output space, you would see that those who are doing logistics and then integrating it with trading and processing, and eventually they are able to achieve a massive stranglehold in the market and with the buyers, right? So now this is the pattern that you've seen all across the the both input and the output supply chains, right? Now let's take much more closer look at what is happening in the input space. Today, almost every agri-input company, bigger agri-input companies, whether you talk about the big six or even talk about the newer ones, eventually they will not have some form of integration of crop advisory, agriculture extension services. They would have their control on channel retailing. They would be offering credit, and then they will be offering either seeds or agrochemical products. Now, this is the entire vertically integrated stack, right? So if you're going to if you're looking at a big, large-scale enterprise in the agri-input space, you have to essentially do a vertically integrated model, or you either go for a horizontal model. Now, I just want to make sure that you guys are able to follow me. Please feel free to ask me, interrupt me with questions there. Any doubts so far on this point? Anyone would like to challenge me or any questions? Are you guys have gotten it right? Or any questions, anything? ठीक है, मैं हिंदी में इसको ये बोलने की कोशिश करता हूँ. ये अगर आप कोई भी इंडस्ट्री में देखिए, आप कोई भी इंडस्ट्री में मैं पहले यहाँ से मैं पहले ये डिस्कस किया कि यहाँ पे कोई भी एग्रीकल्चर एक ही जो इंडस्ट्री में है जहाँ पे प्रोडक्शन और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की इंटीग्रेशन होती है। अभी इंटीग्रेशन का हिंदी शब्द नहीं मालूम है मुझे, जहाँ पे उनकी जुड़ जाते हैं। जब प्रोडक्शन और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जुड़ जाते हैं तभी एक एग्री इनपुट कंपनी भी हो या एग्री आउटपुट कंपनी भी हो, दोनों में एक प्रोडक्शन और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन को साथ में जोड़ना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। सो ये चीज का हम हर सेक्टर में हम देख पा रहे हैं, और यही पैटर्न से हम काफी कुछ एग्री इनपुट कंपनीज भी काफी बड़े हुए हैं इसी स्ट्रैटेजी, इसी अप्रोच को लेकर। ये एक फंडामेंटल अप्रोच है, इसमें कोई स्ट्रैटेजी नाम की बड़े शब्द बोलने की भी जरूरत नहीं है। ये फंडामेंटल अप्रोच है इस इंडस्ट्री में, जिस वे ये इंडस्ट्री जैसे अभी तक काम किया हुआ, राइट। और अभी अब अगर हम इफ वी लुक एट दी एग्री इनपुट सेक्टर में, आप देखेंगे एग्री इनपुट इन सेक्टर में भी हम ये चीज देख रहे हैं कि अगर एग्री इनपुट कंपनीज कैसा पैसा बनाए, वो लोगों ने ये सारे चीज को वर्टिकली इंटीग्रेट किया। मतलब उनके पास सिर्फ एक डिजिटल ऐप, वो जो आजकल की जो स्टार्टअप्स, अब आज की स्टार्टअप्स की आप देखेंगे तो उनके पास दे हैव अ क्रॉप एडवाइजरी ऐप्स। आप प्लांटिक्स ले लो, आप जितने भी स्टार्टअप्स ले लो, और उन सब दे एग्री इनपुट कंपनीज के साथ कोलैबोरेट करना चाहते हैं। क्यों? उनके पास ये बाकी जो स्टैक है, ये जो स्टैक है, इसको एग्रीकल्चर एक्सटेंशन सर्विसेज ऑफर करते हैं, और इसमें थोड़ा डिजिटल की इफेक्ट आ जाता है, बट फिर भी आप देख सकते हैं कि इसमें इन एग्री इनपुट कंपनीज फील्ड ऑन स्ट्रीट में लोग बेचते हैं, और उसके थ्रू देयर आर एक्टिविटीज आर हैपनिंग देयर, राइट। एंड देन दे पार्टनर विद डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, जहाँ पे चैनल और रिटेलिंग की बात आ जाती है। आपको टायर वन की डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन स्ट्रक्चर फॉलो करना है या टायर 2 की डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन स्ट्रक्चर फॉलो करना है? अभी ऐसा इतना कई सारे सवाल हैं। सो एग्री इनपुट लेवल पे आप इतने सारे लेवल्स पे लोग एक्टिविटीज चल रही है, और बिजनेस भी एक्टिविटी चल रही है। आप क्रेडिट देखिए, अभी आजकल की स्टार्टअप्स में दे आर स्टार्टिंग टू ऑफर क्रेडिट, बोथ फ्रॉम एन इनपुट लेवल एंड आल्सो फ्रॉम एन आउटपुट लेवल। आउटपुट लेवल पे देखेंगे तो वो वेयरहाउसिंग और ट्रेडिंग के साथ और ग्रेडिंग के साथ मिला के दे सकते हैं। सिमिलरली इनपुट साइड में भी देयर आर एग्री इनपुट ट्रेडर्स के साथ, आप जय किसान देखिए, आप जितने भी आजकल द्वारा देखिए, जितने भी स्टार्टअप देखेंगे आप, वो दोनों इनपुट्स को और वर्टिकली स्टैक के साथ इंटीग्रेट करके करते हैं। सो ये जो अप्रोच है, ये so this is the same thing you see this in the case of output also, right? आप आउटपुट में देखेंगे तो ऊपर पहले ट्रेडर आ जाते हैं, और हम ट्रेडर क्यों ऊपर आ रहा है वो हम बात करेंगे। फिर लॉजिस्टिक्स एंड फाइनेंसिंग, वेयर यू प्रोवाइड, if who is a good output provider, an output provider, a good output provider is somebody who is also able to take care of the logistics, take care of the storage for loading and do the necessary warehousing if needed, and also do the grade assessment. अभी ग्रेड में भी I've just simplifiedly put it as grade assessment, but इसमें भी बहुत फर्क हो जाता है कि इसमें ग्रेड की हम बात कर रहे हैं या क्वालिटी की बात कर रहे हैं। So इसमें भी there are a lot of nuances in this here where you have to look at grade and quality. आप ग्रेड की देखेंगे तो ग्रेड is based on what is the external appearances, whereas quality is based on what is internal to the produce. Then comes the producer here, right? So now if you see look at the stack, you're having if आप जितने भी कंपनीज आउटपुट में देखेंगे, आप उन लोगों ने ये सारे किए हुए हैं, और ये ट्रेडर्स भी यही करते हैं। आप कोई भी ट्रेडर्स अभी मार्केट में, आप मंडी में जाके मिलेंगे तो उनको वो सारे ये सब चीजें भी वो प्रोवाइड करते हैं। ऑफकोर्स वो ग्रेड इतना प्रोवाइड नहीं करते हैं, और स्टोर वेयरहाउसिंग मतलब ट्रांसपोर्ट तो प्रोवाइड कर लेते हैं, और प्राइस और क्रेडिट उसके हिसाब से आ जाते हैं उनको। नाउ ये अभी रिसेंटली किसी स्टार्टअप ने, मैं उनका नाम नहीं लेना चाहता हूँ, उस स्टार्टअप के उन्होंने ये लिखा था कि वी थॉट द फार्मर्स आर फेसिंग द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ स्टोरेज ऑफ ग्रेन्स, सो वी स्टार्टेड वेयरहाउसिंग। देन वी केम दैट इट्स नॉट जस्ट स्टोरेज, देन लेंडिंग अगेंस्ट कमोडिटी, एंड देन उसके बाद मार्केट लिंकेज, सो वी लॉन्च्ड मंडी। नाउ वी रियलाइज, सो वी आर डूइंग आल्सो ट्रांसपोर्ट। अब ये देखेंगे, सो दिस इज एन एक्चुअल कमेंट फ्रॉम एन एग्रीटेक स्टार्टअप. I mean, I can say the name also. It's, the CEO is Apna Godamka. He just posted it today in the morning, and I was watching this, and I thought this is a very good example of how a studio agriculture approach is looking like today. This is what I mean by studio. A studio में अब अगर आप वार्नर ब्रदर्स या जितने भी जो स्टूडियोज में जो पहले बात कर रहा था हिस्ट्री में, जहाँ पे वो लोगों ने प्रोडक्शन भी संभाल लिया और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी संभाला, और साथ में जो प्रोड्यूसर्स है जो काम कर रहे हैं उनके साथ, उनको भी उनकी एक्टिविटीज को भी कोऑर्डिनेट किया, तब वो एक स्टूडियो सिस्टम बन जाता है। अब हम इस सेक्टर में अभी हम ऐसे वक्त में हैं कि हम एग्रीकल्चर में भी एक स्टूडियो सिस्टम्स बना सकते हैं। और वो स्टूडियो सिस्टम्स में आपको आप जैसे इस एग्जांपल में देख रहे हैं, आपको सारे चीजें को कोऑर्डिनेट करने के एक मौका मिल रहा है, बट उस मौका ही मिल रहा है हमको अभी ये पता करना है कि ये डिसाइड करना है कि वी हैव टू फिगर आउट if this is the best way that we can really solve the problems in the case, right? So now today, how you see most of the startups who are actively Surat, can you just put yourself on mute, please?
I'm on mute.
Okay, thank you. So today, if you really look at the what is the pseudo system of agriculture? So when I talked about pseudo era of agriculture, what does it really look like today, right now, in the current agri-tech scene? This is what it is looking like. Those who are in the inputs are either offering crop planning and credit. They're also offering agronomy and also labor hiring. Yeah, the input level, and of course now in this, even cows and other livestock market is also coming into it. This is just a generic example here. At an output level, a quality and grade assaying and transport and aggregation, and then market linkages and commodity marketing as a service. So now all of this is being offered at the center level, which is the trader and the bania or the commission agent. When this at the center right now today, most of the, if you see all of these models, right, from Dehat to Pharma to Gramophone to Plantex to Partner to any other models, all of them are centered around the trader and the entire that's what I call as a B2B2C model. Yes, B2B2C model में अभी सारे developments हो रही है, but इसका फिर फायदा क्या है? So now you see this development, you see these kind of changes happening now, not just in the agri-tech scene, right? Today, if you look at the IDEA ecosystem, how many of you have know about the IDEA ecosystem which has been floated by the government of India? You guys should really look it up and understand that, read that paper also, it's a very important one, which talks about how in the future, how the government is planning to bring together an ecosystem where bringing together farmer, governments and the markets and across the players, both at the input and output end. So we are seeing that even the government is trying to put the efforts where to orchestrate and bring all of these players at a massive scale level. And this is not just happening from the government side also. You take the finance side, today, there is a framework called account aggregator framework, where all financial transactions can be centralized with one centralized intermediary, which is able to track the various set of financial transactions that are happening, right? So what this would essentially mean is, if let's say if a farmer is wanting to apply for a loan, he can go to one particular platform and his data can be credit, for the credit evaluation can be done by various set of players. And then
thank you. Hi.
Yes, Meenal, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Vivek. Sorry, you mentioned a paper and also another term just before this slide. Could you give a link or type it, because I do not kind of catch it. Yeah, I would like to read about.
Sure. So this is the IDEA ecosystem. Let me just type it out for you guys. One second. If you just search IDEA ecosystem and agri-tech, you should be able to get it.
Got it.
And the one this is one paper I'm talking about is the NBFC account aggregator model. So now with NBFC account aggregator model, you can financial transactions may not be at a specific to the company, which means even if you are a multiple set of players, you can have a centralized repository of financial transactions, which is a great potential for how do you reimagine credit at massive scale. Imagine a scenario like this, right? Today, a farmer who is applying for a credit. Now there are multiple lenders there. Now each of these lenders are going to take the data from the farmer and or from the producer, to use the term that I talked about earlier, and then they're going to evaluate it. And then this whole data can be sourced from various set of players, right? It can be sourced via Google Maps, your Aadhaar, via these various agri-tech platforms and farming platforms. And then you can, based on the data you're sourcing, and you can give some payment, and then you can offer credit. Now, this kind of a possibility is a possibility that is possible in the very near future, with all the groundwork and infrastructure right now being built primarily for this. So don't worry about the slides and image. I will share my link out to my presentation. Just make sure that you're following, and if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me, guys. This is something I wish I had been known when I started this space. So I'm now trying to offer my best to see, you guys really understand the entire landscape that's happening right now at this point, right? So now we talked about how the traders are at the center, which is who are at the interlocking credit and output and bringing together input and output, right? So now, what does this really mean at the fundamental level? हमने अभी तक काफी possibilities बात की है. टेक्नोलॉजी क्या एक चीज होती है जो पॉसिबिलिटीज की तरफ सोचती है, आगे बढ़ती है, आगे की तरफ सोचता है. अभी हम थोड़ा करंट रियलिटीज पे भी देखेंगे. अभी आप करंट रियलिटीज पे देखेंगे तो I don't know about you, I had this fundamental question that why is, except for farmer, everyone else is making money out of agriculture? Can anyone tell me in this group, why do you think, what is the right? Why do you think that is happening? Did you get my question?
The producer does not make money. Probably he is not having the right access to the market, number one.
Okay.
Number two, this being a seasonal crop, the demand supply gap is there is a wide variation, and he doesn't have a capability to store for a longer period and wait. Otherwise, he has to go for a distress sale kind of arrangement. These are the two major factors where producer loses his money.
Perfect. Markets are very incomplete. Markets are unfair at a certain extent, so he's not able to get the best price, and oftentimes, so this is happening there. Okay, Anil Rana, yes, go ahead, Anil. Please put on your videos also, so I can see you guys.
Yes, see, I am a farmer.
Yes,
and I am a producer, if you'd like to put it that way. See, the problem which the farmers face is, first they have to produce, and then immediately after production, they have to move to the next crop, right? So they hardly get any time to market. So and number one. Number two, they don't have any options available. All they have is the mandis and those commission agents who literally flee the farmers. Yeah, so they are, on one hand, they have to look after the production. On the other hand, if you say you have to market it also, then there is only one place. It's a monopoly kind of a scenario. There's no one who is there to, really support. Anyone who comes in to, buy the product, they again somehow tend to act like commission agents only. So what happens is, if the potato over here, if I produce potato, if I'm getting 4 rupees a kg, by the time it reaches the consumer, it becomes 40 rupees. So this graph of yours is absolutely right in that way. So a lot has to be done on the marketing side. If someone can, for example, I'll give you an example. I'm also doing agriculture, aquaculture as well as agriculture. In the aquaculture, the wholesale rate of the fish IMC carp variety, which I'm selling, is at 150 rupees. Initially, the contractors used to give 80 rupees, which was not even the cost of production. So I did a little bit of marketing effort and built up a small team of retailers. I called them over, and so it's a small initiative, but yes, by that way I've been able to take it to 150, which now becomes profitable. But again, this is not the end. So in the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, we even applied for processing unit. I have a feed mill. I've done forward as well as vertical integration. Feed was another problem. I am a farmer. Everything I produce is here. I have maize, I have the wheat, I have mustard, everything. So just adding a couple of small machineries, I now am able to produce my own fish feed. So and it saves a lot of money on one hand. And the second option is, why should I go and sell my maize to the commission agents when I can, add value to it, make feed for myself, and not only for myself, but to fellow farmers, fish farmers. Now, for the marketing angle, now the problem that 150 rupees still persists. So I did a little bit of research work and I found that if you sell fish cutlets or fish cheese balls, so the wholesale rate for that is 600 rupees. And fish pickle, I am from Himachal Pradesh. So the fish pickle over here, they sells at 2,400 rupees a kg. Look at the difference by just adding value. So what I personally think is that the farmers have to group up and do value addition to the products, so that, and they have to market it. There is no other way out. I don't see. And for that reason, among the first 5 pilot FPOs, one was allotted to Himachal Pradesh, and I'm taking care of that. And at present, we have around 300 farmers associated with us. So
wonderful.
So that is where the problem is. The farmers is not, as an individual, is not able to reach out to the customers. That accordingly is the problem.
Sure. Thank you.
Venki, hi, Mahesh here.
Yeah, Mahesh.
So main thing is farmers not able to fix the price of their own product. That is the problem. So
why do you think they're not able to price? Why do you think they're not able to fix the price?
Because of their so many issues. See, minimum this is some MNP something is there, right? Something I don't know exact name of that. 1 second.
You're talking about MSP.
MSP. So people.
इस सेक्टर में ये तो आपको जानना पड़ेगा ना.
Yeah. So they are not able to fix the price. Whatever the price traders or businessmen saying, same price we need to sell to them. That is what the problem.
Okay. We'll feel free to add your points there. I want to make sure that I also cover the slides, and we'll have a much more detailed conversation once we go through the remaining parts of the presentation there. So now, see, the fundamental element in terms of the challenge, which is for all of you, right? हमने अभी तक opportunities देखे. We talked about the opportunities that are there, but the fundamental problem that is to solve this problem, make this graph an obsolete graph, and that's the fundamental reason where we are looking at the newer set of entrepreneurs, agri-tech entrepreneurs, to see if can we inverse this problem. And now, and that's where we have to go into a lot of more details about why this kind of structure in the way this market is working, right? And one fundamental reason is what is our collective image? I found this in a Times of India editorial, and it was a very interesting picture for me because it shows our conventional myth and understanding about the way we think about farmers. We think that they are in this one and they need to be protected, and then the whole question of comes as to what do we do for them, and what kind of way we can empower them, and all of them that comes from there. So while that is necessary, but it's also necessary to understand, is this the picture of reality that we have in our minds? If yes, then you may want to challenge it and find out to see if this is really what is happening. So this is why I'm leaving you with this open question to think about this, because oftentimes when you go down to the ground, you see that what the perception that we have and what is on the ground are often two different things. And that's the one reason where I want to look at that specific question here. So now I will go to the second part of the third part of my presentation, which is I will share 8 learnings that I have learned over these last 2 years, working very closely with agri-tech entrepreneurs across India and Central America. And these 8 learnings I want to share because so many of you might be looking at these sort of questions from the sense of, from venture capital, you want to raise the capital or you want to grow your business. But these learnings I found, being implemented and being used by these startups that I'm closely working. I'm seeing this across the sector as well. Right? So these are my own learnings that I've seen closely from my life, watching many of these players and working and collaborating with these agri-tech startup entrepreneurs. Earn your skin in the game. So today, if you are going to enter the space in 2021, you have to earn your skin in the game. What does that mean? Skin in the game means where कि हमें कुछ solution find out करने से पहले we have to ask ourselves, what right do I have to propose a solution? Have I done my homework? Today, how many of us who are talking about agri-tech or there have actually spent time farming and done farming for several set of years, right? I have been in the farms, I've been working with few farmers, and I'm realizing that the space is so complex. So you have to earn your skin in the game to even propose a solution. And that's the first thing. Even if you're looking for investors or even you're looking for anybody to really bet on your company, right? That's the first thing they're asking. What have you done? How many pivots have you done? Today, I know of entrepreneurs who have done more than 5 to 6 pivots. They've been continuously learning and experimenting and then figuring out. So the first question is to ask yourselves whether have you earned your skin in the game. Second, agriculture and markets come first, technology comes later. Now, अभी ये जो चीज है जिसमें मैं बहुत ही important learning मेरे लिए रहा और मैं काफी startups को भी इस problem में देखा हुआ है. अभी क्या होता है, बाकी दो सेक्टर्स देखिए, अगर आप एग्रीकल्चर के अलावा जो बाकी जो सेक्टर्स है, उस सेक्टर में अगर आपका टेक्नोलॉजिकल स्ट्रेंथ ज्यादा है, आप काम चला सकते हैं. एग्रीकल्चर में एक ही जो डोमेन है जहाँ पे आपका डोमेन नॉलेज अगर सॉलिड रहा है, तो वो आप टेक्नोलॉजी बाद में भी सीख सकते हो. सो पहले ये जानना है कि मार्केट में क्या हो रहा है अभी और एग्रीकल्चर में क्या हो रहा है. सो आई वुड अर्ज ऑल ऑफ यू टू go get your hands dirty, do farming, lease land, try out your experiments, figure out if it's working out, and then go ahead and propose a model. Then you have a higher, better chances of succeeding, right? So the next question, inherit your gharana carefully. This is something I want to emphasize on because Mahesh, is there a question there? Okay, Mahesh, if you go on, could you go on mute? I'll finish my presentation and the last part of it. Then you guys we'll open up for all the Q&A and questions there. Okay, so inherit your gharana carefully is a very tricky learning that I want to share here. Right, today most of the companies if you see the big companies who become entrepreneurs, they all have their gharanas. What is a gharana? I'm sure आप लोगों को पता होगा कि gharana क्या होता है. Gharanas are the traditions in which people have been learning singing music. And if you observe in India, entrepreneurship में भी gharanas होते हैं. If somebody who has spent time in ITC, he will try to replicate an ITC model in his agri-tech startup. If somebody has spent time in Bayer, he will replicate what he has discovered in Bayer model and build. So likewise, you will have this urge to replicate and inherit whatever your gharanas and replicate in a new context there. But be very careful that you don't repeat the old mistakes and end up repeating the old mistakes rather than creating new mistakes. An important aspect is that's why I mentioned is inherit your gharana carefully. Next, choose your game to play. So this is a very important one. Many startups reach out to me saying, I want to raise funding, but their model is not such that it is not good for funding. So then what do I do? Do I just close my shop? Or do I say कि यार इसमें कोई VC पैसा नहीं डाल रहा तो मैं कुछ कर नहीं सकता? So this is a very interesting quote that I found, that Mark, who is part of the Omnivore Ventures, he talks about that VC money is jet fuel and should not be used in Maruti Swift or a Lamborghini. So the VC money is also a very tricky form of a fuel that can be used only in a particular kind of engine. So that's where I talked about earlier about what game you want to play. So choose the game that you want to play and then make peace with the choices that you make. Now, embrace the difficulty of being a capitalist in agriculture. Now, agriculture एक सेक्टर है कि अब आप खुल के बोल नहीं सकते कि मैं कैपिटलिस्ट हूँ. इसमें बहुत सारे problems है. There are so many people who have faced, if you look at the data in which that's coming in, it's staggering, right? And a lot of times I hear many, when I work with the entrepreneurs, I hear them also finding it difficult to even articulate, what it is to be a capitalist in this space, right? So that's a very important question that is worthwhile for you to understand what it is to be a capitalist in this agriculture sector. Now, there is a certain Western idea of capitalist, but if you look at closer home, we've had a long tradition of what it is to be a capitalist, what it is to do dhanda. So I would ask you to really investigate and understand rather than just imitating something that you've heard from the West or from somewhere elsewhere. And learn to tell your own story. This is again another important aspect that I also ask entrepreneurs to focus on. Like today, if you expect somebody else to tell your story, it's not going to work. Today, the technology world has come to such extent that you can tell your own story. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि आपका story मतलब आपकी जो journey है agri-tech की, आपकी जो भी बना रहे हो, जो भी platform बना, can you learn to tell your own story? Now, second, the next is the most important learning. Move fast and break things approach doesn't work in food and agriculture. अभी टेक की दुनिया में ये काम चलती है कि move fast and break things. But agriculture एक ऐसी चीज है कि जहाँ पे एक living bridge होती है. I don't know how many of you have traveled to Meghalaya. I've traveled to, and you see these living bridges जहाँ पे ये trees की जो आप देख रहे हैं कि ये trees की जो roots के हिसाब से they made the bridge for about a span of 20-30 years. To me, that symbolizes how much time it takes to build something long and sustainable in the agriculture world. Agriculture में कोई industry या कोई companies बनाने में भी बहुत time लगता है, because this is that kind of a sector which is connected to the natural cycles. So as much as it takes to build a living roots bridge, it will take you the same time to build a long and a sustainable business venture that can serve people, serve especially farmers, and do something useful and impactful in this space. Next, this is a very important aspect in another thing there. अब ये देखेंगे, अब अगर हम एग्रीटेक सेक्टर के, मैं कॉम्प्लेक्स बता रहा था कि एग्री सेक्टर बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स है. इसमें मतलब होता क्या है, एग्री सेक्टर ये जो एक सेक्टर है जहाँ पे बहुत सारे लेयर्स पे हम काम कर रहे हैं. पहले लेयर पे हम नेचर पे काम कर रहे हैं, जो बहुत ही स्लो मूविंग है. मतलब नेचर में कोई चीज बदलाव लाने में बहुत टाइम लगता है. उसके ऊपर एक कल्चर नाम की चीज होती है. एग्रीकल्चर एक ही डोमेन है जहाँ पे कल्चर आ जाती है, एग्रीकल्चर आ जाती है, और वो कल्चर भी धीरे धीरे बदलता है. फिर धीरे उसके ऊपर देखेंगे तो अगला क्या बदलता है, पॉलिसी बदलता है. पॉलिसी बदलने में भी टाइम लगता है. अभी इंडिया में देखिए, अब फार्म लॉस में हमको पॉलिसीज बनाने में इतना टाइम लग रहा है. वो प्रोसेस ही ऐसा है. तो हम इसमें, मैं पॉलिटिक्स बात नहीं करना चाहता हूँ, बट यहाँ पर द पॉलिसीज हियर दीस टेक टाइम टू डेवलप एंड चेंज, इवॉल्व, एंड दैट इज हाउ द नेचर ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर एज अ सेक्टर. Next, what is changing? Infrastructure. Infrastructure also takes time to change. You can't just like that change the mandis overnight and digitize them, right? Mandis भी 40-50 साल से काफी टाइम से रहा है. उनको भी बदलने में, उनके बदलाव लाने में, उनको डिजिटल लाने में भी बहुत टाइम लगता है. और नेक्स्ट चीज, मार्केट्स थोड़ा बदल सकता है, थोड़ा तेजी से. अब अगर आप यहाँ से यहाँ देखेंगे तो हम ये जो लेवल्स जो बात कर रहे हैं एग्रीकल्चर में, वो किस लेवल्स पे चेंज हो रहा है, हम उसकी तरफ बात कर रहे हैं. और फिर मार्केट प्लेसेस है, ये जो अभी आप टेक वर्ल्ड में बना रहे हैं वो यहाँ पर है. पर ये देखिए कि ये चलाने में ये सबको भी चलाना पड़ता है. तो ये है हमारा कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी है कि वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ मार्केट एंड अ मार्केट प्लेस. मार्केट इज व्हाट आई वन सेकंड. Market is what is here. Marketplace is what you're building on top of it. So this may be faster, but the real changes have to happen below. So, and that's what I talked about. I've written somewhere elsewhere that marketplaces learn, markets remembers. Marketplaces proposes, market disposes. So, in a nutshell, these are the 8 learnings that I want you I wanted to share with all of you. First, just earn your skin in the game. People are going to take you seriously only when you ensure that you have your skin in the game and you have put the effort. Second, markets and agriculture comes first, then technology comes. पहले आप मार्केट और एग्रीकल्चर पे काम कीजिए, फिर बाद में टेक्नोलॉजी की लोग भी आ सकते हैं. अभी आप टेक्नोलॉजी की तरफ देखेंगे तो सारे प्राइसेस टेक्नोलॉजी पे आप में 0 पे आ रही है. सो आपको पहले फोकस करना पड़ेगा कि मार्केट और एग्रीकल्चर पे. इनहेरिट योर घराना. आप जिस कंपनी से आ रहे हो उसी कंपनी का प्रोडक्ट रेप्लिकेट करना चाहते हैं या नया कुछ करना चाहते हैं. चूज द गेम यू वांट टू प्ले. आप क्या बनाना चाहते हैं? आपको अगर कोई बीसी वाला बिजनेस बनाना है या फिर लॉन्ग टर्म बनाना है, इस दोनों में ट्रेड ऑफ्स है. मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा कि ये सही है ये गलत है. आप दोनों से जो गेम खेलना चाहते हैं. एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप एक ऐसी चीज है कि आप 40-50 साल के चलने वाला एक गेम, उस गेम की तरफ देखेंगे तो थोड़ा हार्ट ब्रेक्स नहीं रहेगा. हम एक गेम को गेम की तरह देखेंगे. और 5वें पॉइंट, एम्ब्रेस द डिफिकल्टी ऑफ बीइंग अ कैपिटलिस्ट इन एग्रीकल्चर. सो नाउ this is the reason why I'm saying this. This is, as I said, India is a sector where we are doing terribly on poverty. We are doing terribly on malnutrition. We are doing terribly on jobs and inequality also. These are fundamental challenges that are existing in this sector. इस sector में अगर हम entrepreneurs बनना रहे तो काफी सारे responsibilities आ जाती हैं. And that's what I talk about. What is the difficulty of being a capitalist? So find out what it is to be a capitalist in this time. 6th, learn to tell your own story. किसी और पे आप अगर if you want to recruit somebody else to do your story and all, before that think and ask yourself, can you tell your own story? How do you, and one additional one that I didn't mention that earlier is never lose your curiosity. Curiosity is, that's what I said, entrepreneurship is inversely, the price of entrepreneurship is curiosity. But if you really look at it, आपको क्यूरियोसिटी नहीं है तो आप सीख नहीं पाएंगे आप कोई भी चीज को. And the final thing is understand the difference between markets and marketplaces. So that's all I had to share. Now we have about half an hour to 40 minutes. If you guys want me to open up any slides or want to debate or challenge me or want to ask any questions, feel free to. I'll do my best to answer my questions. Whatever I would love to discuss and chat with you guys. Any questions? Did I go through the last part a little faster, or did it make sense?
Venki, thank you for the wonderful session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Since you are having a lot of experience in critiquing so many startups, so what are the critical points you generally observe in the new startups business proposal?
See, first thing, as I said, today many people come up with radical ideas, but the moment they come to a maturity stage where they look at ki cash flow kya aata hai, what is the what are the businesses, then they almost, that's what I'll just show you that slide here. 1 second. See, I want to bring this point because it's an important point. I want to bring this here. Now that you're asking what is a common challenge that you see, right? So today, any startup, initially when they start off with, they all talk about big dreams. I'm not again pointing out only these set of players there. I'm talking the overall scene, right? People come up with radical ideas, want to try do different things. But when the challenges of how to make money and how to grow your business comes in, then eventually people end up with a B2B2C model, which is what a similar, some set of a model of this kind, right? So the question I often ask is, what is the journey and why are we creating the same kind of a model where the trader is again in the center? Because when you're creating the same kind of a model in the past, what you're doing is you are, like I mentioned earlier, right? When we are keeping the same as a model, we are replicating this model, but it's called digitize kar rahe. So then the question comes in as to why do you want to digitize the status quo, right? So these are the key questions that I really look at in terms of when I look at the models. Like, is it replicating the same status quo which is there in the industry, or is it something fundamentally radically rethinking the way the industry is organized? So those are the questions I look at there. Did I answer your question, Sharad?
Yeah, that makes some sense. And another question continuing to that, some of the like infrastructure, if you look at the Godam was an example you quoted, these are varying from region to region. And these are, although it is a Me Too kind of arrangement or model, but
why do you say Me Too?
Me Too means it's a copy, what I learned from earlier sessions.
Okay, but I understood what Me Too is, but why do you think this Apna Godam is a copy of what?
Because it varies from region. It has been already practicing at some other regions, and I'm trying to put the similar model which is not existing there, and I want to be a new entrepreneur in that area. So, but there will be certain challenges with respect to that. But does that work, or you think that the Godam is different for different regions?
I can't talk about a specific company, Sharad.
Godam, I am not saying. It's actually Marathi word, Godam, frankly speaking. It is a storages, I would say, grain storage, warehousing.
Yeah, I understand. So see, warehousing, you need to understand one fundamental thing, right? Today, everybody thinks in the industry that warehousing spaces are limited. But if you really look at the data, you will see that we have more than enough warehousing data spaces. I've actually written about it in my newsletter. We have more than enough agri warehousing spaces. The problem comes into marrying supply with demand. Like बहुत सारे हमारे पास warehousing spaces भी है, पर हम उसको market linkages उसका कैसे करें, वो आज का बहुत बड़ा सवाल है. अभी इस प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए हम शॉर्टकट निकालेंगे तो हम क्या करेंगे, हम ट्रेडर से खरीद के हम हमारे GMV नंबर्स बढ़ा सकते हैं, बट वो सोल्यूशन है क्या, वो आपको सोचना पड़ेगा. So that's what I was talking about in the sense that I'm talking from a very generic sense, right? Today, the problem in output is to map, because every farmer has his own production cycle, right? Harvest cycle. Now, how do you cater to that harvest cycle and at the same time bring operations to your farm gate? Now that is the question entrepreneurs like you should be asking and trying to solve that problem, because that's a hard problem, right? हर एक काम क्या जो seeds डाल रहे हैं उसके हिसाब से हमारे harvest cycle अलग होगा. So then how do you then make sure that you're able to do the farm gate operations? I'm presuming you all want to work, do your farm gate operations closer to the farmer. So that's why I'm asking this question. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. Anyone else before? Yes, sir.
Okay. I have this. Can you please go back to that slide with that farmer with coins on the eyes?
Farmer with what? Sorry.
Coins on the eyes.
Coins on the eyes. Okay. हाँ. Okay.
आँखों के ऊपर. Input agri input वाला.
Mustache farmer.
अच्छा. एक सेकंड.
The business model.
वो farmer नहीं है. वो actually वो farmer नहीं है. वो trader है.
Correct. Trader. Yeah.
Okay.
वो trader नहीं है. वो ट्रेडर नहीं है, वो फार्मर है. वो ट्रेडर है, फार्मर नहीं है. मैं ट्रेडर को इसलिए यहाँ पे बीच में लिखा है कि इफ यू लुक एट द कन्वर्जेंस, राइट, आप ज्यादातर एग्री टेक में सेक्टर में राइट नाउ यू आर सीइंग अ B2B2C मॉडल जहाँ पर ट्रेडर की डिजिटाइजिंग ऑपरेशंस पे ज्यादातर फोकस चल रही है. अब जितने भी स्टार्टअप्स आप देखेंगे, सो इस ट्रेडर के हिसाब से वो सेंटर में वो मॉडल आ रहा है. तो ये मैं चीज देख रहा हूँ एज अ क्रिटिक, राइट, एज समबडी हु इज कॉन्स्टेंटली रिव्यूइंग स्टार्टअप्स की इवेंचुअली हर कोई ये मॉडल पे आ जाते हैं. इसके अलग अलग वेरिएंट पे आ जाते हैं, पर हर कोई ये इसी मॉडल पे आ जाते हैं. तो मैं ये सवाल आप लोगों से पूछूंगा कि इस मॉडल पे हम क्यों इतना आ रहे हैं. हम क्यों आ रहे हैं? क्योंकि इस मॉडल काफी प्रोवन है. इसमें विदाउट डिजिटाइजेशन ये मॉडल चल रहा है अभी आजकल. हम उसको डिजिटाइज कर रहे हैं, तो फिर हम प्रॉब्लम क्या सॉल्व कर रहे हैं?
अरे मेरा सवाल ये था कि अपने स्पेसिफिक जो हम अपना यहाँ पे स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं स्टार्टअप में, अब एज अ फार्मर हम प्रोड्यूसर हैं तो रॉ मटेरियल इज नॉट एन इशू विद अस. अब कुछ हम टेक्नोलॉजिकल इंटरवेंशंस कर रहे हैं, जैसे प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट हो गया, पैकेजिंग यूनिट वगैरह कर लिया. नाउ उसमें आपने वैल्यू एडिशन भी कर लिया. नाउ द प्रॉब्लम कम्स इज हाउ डू वी गेट इट टू द कस्टमर्स. डू वी टेक द ट्रेडिशनल रूट जो है कि जी आप पहले होलसेलर को लीजिए, कोई डीलर बनाइए एंड यू डू दैट, और इज इट बिकॉज वी आर नॉट दैट बिग एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की जो टू डोर जाके दे सके. क्योंकि मैं जैसे आप भी बोल रहे हैं, मैंने भी आपको पहले बोला था, क्योंकि हमारे साइकिल्स हैं, हम खेतों को नहीं छोड़ सकते.
बिल्कुल छोड़ना भी नहीं चाहिए.
और एज अ फार्मर यू हैव टू बी इन द फार्म every day. Guested holidays, Saturdays, Sundays, there's nothing.
बिल्कुल.
No thing like this. ठीक है जी. तो ये इस दुविधा को कैसे सॉल्व किया जा सकता है आपकी नजर से? What do you think could be the solution? ये
बहुत अच्छा सवाल है ये. अभी आजकल ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजीज आ रहे हैं जहाँ पे हम उसको D2C कहते हैं. जहाँ इसको D2C आप गूगल करेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा. ये डायरेक्ट टू कंज्यूमर. D2C जहाँ पे ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजीज है जहाँ पे आप फार्मर्स को सीधा डायरेक्टली कंज्यूमर के साथ लिंक कर सकते हैं. आजकल ऐसी भी स्टार्टअप्स आ रही है, ऐसी प्लेटफॉर्म्स भी आ रही है. आपको सिर्फ स्टार्टअप्स के पास जाने की जरूरत नहीं. आप सीधा कोई आपका प्रोड्यूस का अगर आपको क्वालिटी और ग्रेड का सॉर्ट करें, आप सीधा आप बायर्स शहरों में आप यू कैन फाइंड दोस बायर्स देयर एंड देन फाइंड अ वेज टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर ट्रांसपोर्टिंग यू आर एबल टू डू इट विद अ लोएस्ट कॉस्ट, राइट. सो ये जो आजकल दैट इज अनदर एस्पेक्ट दैट वाज आल्सो हाइलाइटिंग इन दैट स्लाइड देयर, राइट, कि now why is trader the center of the ecosystem? Trader is at the center of the ecosystem because of two fundamental reasons. First thing, he determines the standard. Second thing, he is able to determine the logistics. He is able to offer a logistics. Third thing, he is able to find the buyers. Now ये तीन चीज को अब टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू आप सॉल्व कर सकते हैं.
Yeah, not only this, traders also offer loans.
Loans, exactly. Now that's also an important aspect, right? Absolutely. So now, because of the offering the loans, they are also able to get the price and determine the price also, right? So now, how do you solve this problem from a digital lens? You are solving this problem when now through technologies you can very well subvert the system, and that will happen if only when you are able to do your if you're able to go back to your solution, the farm gate. Now problem what happens is that's where I talk in this. Whenever I talk about this sector, I talk about this challenges in terms of first mile और last mile. अभी first mile क्या होता है? आपके farm से एक जगह पे trading की एक hub पे आप लेके जा रहे हो. That is को first mile बोलते हैं. और last mile is where अभी हमारे सारे innovations last mile पे ज्यादा focus हो रही है, first mile में कम हो रही है. और इस फर्स्ट माइल भी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए हम ट्रेडर के पास चले जा रहे हैं. मैं ट्रेडर को अगर इधर मतलब विलन नहीं बना रहा हूँ, पर इधर ट्रेडर भी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहा है. और हम कई बार ये एग्री सेक्टर में ये भी ना नोटिस किया कि कई लोग को समझ में नहीं आता. बहुत सारे लोग मैं स्टार्टअप में बात करता हूँ तो बोलते हैं कि यार सर हम मिडिलमैन को हटाएंगे. ठीक है, मिडिलमैन को हटाएंगे तो आप मिडिलमैन के सारा काम आप करोगे क्या? तो ये सवाल आ जाती है, राइट? सो it's important to understand what is the role that is played by the trader, by the middleman, and then understand what ways can we rethink the whole ecosystem. So आपकी जो सवाल, coming back to your सवाल, if you look at D2C, today if you look at the lot of D2C players, right? Taproot देखिए, आप गुड़गांव में भी बहुत सारे ऐसे स्टार्टअप्स हैं आजकल जहाँ पे जो फार्मर्स को डायरेक्टली कंज्यूमर के साथ लिंक कर, उसकी तरफ आप अप्रोच करके उसके लिए जितने भी जो टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं, भले आपको ई कॉमर्स शॉप शुरू करनी है या लॉजिस्टिक्स का पार्टनरशिप करनी है, वो सारी चीज आज पॉसिबल है. पहले नहीं था, अब पॉसिबिलिटी है आपको सीधा कंज्यूमर्स का कनेक्ट करके विदाउट ब्रिंगिंग इन अ मिडलमैन. बट इट विल टेक टाइम एंड इट टेक्स टाइम टू बिल्ड दैट एंड डेवलप दैट. या थैंक यू. Akhilesh, yes, go ahead, Akhilesh. Akhilesh?
Hello.
आपका आवाज ब्रेक हो रहा है, सॉरी. या यस अखिलेश.
Akhilesh here.
Yes.
Firstly, thanks for your wonderful session, and I have a question for you. That can we any market for agriculture export in India, or and how we can export agriculture commodities to
I can't hear you.
European countries like US.
Akhilesh, can you type your question
Hello.
there? I can't hear you clearly, Akhilesh. Can you type your question?
Hello.
आपका आवाज कट हो रही है, आपका नेटवर्क की वजह से शायद. Guys, since I'm told that there are participants who speak understand Hindi, I'm toggling between Hindi and English there. I hope that's okay. You guys are able to follow me.
Okay. I'm audible?
Yes, you are now audible. Yes.
Firstly, thanks your wonderful insight and
Akhilesh, your voice is still muffling out. Akhilesh, can you type your question there? I'll respond to it, please.
Okay.
Yeah, please type your question. Okay. Any more questions, guys? I'll give my link to my newsletter. I'll just send that. There are a lot of free articles for anyone to read, and then you guys anyone wants to reach out for any help, I'm happy to. I'm always available for agritech entrepreneurs. I love working and I love learning from all of you. So yes, feel free to reach out if you have any questions there. Any more questions per se from my presentation? Any questions, any thoughts? Okay, TG asks, my agri startup doesn't have any agriculture co-founder. How to deal with such situation? I don't think it's a problem, TG. I don't know what's your name. You can very well. I know of founders who've gone into Series A without a co-founder. You will need to face a challenge at a later stage, but you can still very well go ahead without a co-founder at this point. Okay. Akhilesh, your questions are way too broad. How to export? You have to talk to export council. You talk about there are so many export bodies, APEDA, and if you're talking about organic, because organic is where major of the markets are happening right now in exports. Where there's also a good high margins also in markets. So that's one aspect you may want to consider there. But how to integrate producers, it depends on the relationship that you build there. So yes, yeah. Any more questions, guys? Please advise a startup idea which suits to a current situation you want needs to start. No, I can't tell you that. There's no secret formula startup that will solve all the problems. You have to find out which one will work for you, because you are going to be. It's like you have to be married to that startup problem for almost like several years, right? So you have to find out. I can't tell you which is very suited. You have to find out that idea.
Hi Venki, this is Kapil here.
Yeah, Kapil.
I just want to understand one thing from but before that, I just want to thank you for the wonderful session which you have taken us through. Like, what are the changes or dynamics in the agri business which you are foreseeing or which you have observed in last 2 or 3 years? Like in terms of technology and in terms of the importance to the consumer. Because here, importance to the producer. We are talking about how we can inverse the curve. So in that perspective, what are the dynamics which are playing in?
See, today, I don't know what you mean by an agribusiness company. See, there are various definitions of various sectors, right? In agri input, there is a particular kind of an agribusiness company. In agri output chain, there is a particular kind of company. One dynamic that I'm seeing new right now is, see, in the warehousing space, if you've been observing the data, warehousing finance numbers have been coming down, right? Because today now there is far more risk capital, but at the same time, banks, because of the NPMS, banks are not willing to offer loans to traders, to processors, and this is becoming a big challenge right now. So today, a lot of while there is risk capital, that is money that is coming in via entrepreneurs, via these venture capital firms, there is a big significant challenge of trade finance that is right now being solved by agribusiness companies who are right now willing to offer trade finance to traders, to exporters. If you see what Origo Commodities or NCML or NBHC, all of them are really working on that side, right? So from an output side, those dynamics are changing. Today, people are far more. Earlier, a trader has to go and pledge his office and take a high risk loan from a bank, right? But now the lending opportunities are slightly more increasing. But of course, the challenges still remain. But yes, I mean, since you asked at a very broad level, I'm answering at a very broad level there. But if there's any specific, I can answer.
Specific is the point which you were showing the curve where the producers is being least benefited out of the business. When I say business, agribusiness, and other two end where R&D people and the marketing people are getting most of the cream. So inverse this curve, what are the business changes which are happening? Like, are the people or entrepreneurs putting in some ideas or coming up with the business models wherein they want to inverse the curve? So in that perspective, I'm looking the answer.
Okay, got it. See, today, there is this will involve some bit of, economics understanding, okay? Now, there are two types of markets, a thick market and a thin market. I learned this from entrepreneurs like you, smart entrepreneurs like you who are on the ground, and I've been understanding and trying to understand that a little at a deeper level, right? Today, wherever there are traders, there are more number of traders in the game. It is oftentimes a thin market because the traders are controlling how many number of buyers are there because of the way they are working, right? We've seen in India how much of trade collusion happens, trade cartel happens. आप उड़द दाल में देखेंगे आपको पता चलेगा कि कितने सारे trade cartels have come. So to reverse that, the one best solution is to increase the number of buyers and increase the number of markets, and that's what comes this thick markets. अगर आप देखेंगे तो ये बहुत काफी well researched subject है. How do we make the markets thick markets in any agricultural markets? And that is one answer. To a very, very more specific point, how do you increase farm gate procurement? Now that is one way where you can reduce the inverse curve. Farm gate if you do more procurement, which will mean you have to do the quality assaying and grade assessment at the farm gate level, and then you can directly pay the farmers based on whatever your grade and assess there. Today, that is the biggest challenge there. So not many people are able to do that. So eventually the goods end up going to the traders, right? So how do you make sure that you are able to do farm gate procurement? See, now this is a very complex subject in terms of today, a lot of trade that happens is a trader, although it's been portrayed as a farm gate. No, it's industry mein ye bhi ho raha hai, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you then really do farm gate effectively without bleeding? Now that's again important question. You can't just farmers ko help karna karke, if you do it, you will bleed. You will bleed, as in your business will bleed, because it doesn't make sense for you have to manage do it in a very smart way. So how do you do the farm gate is where the real question I would leave you with.
True. I think that satisfy the query which I was having. Thank you for that, Venki.
Thank you.
I would like to add one more thing over here.
Yes, Anil.
Practically, if you see, what is happening is there is a commission agent. With him are attached around say 100 to 200 farmers. They have they are dedicated farmers attached to it. And on the other side, that is from where he procures and where he sells, then there too he has maybe thousands of customers. So if Anil Rana, protests and says, no, you are not giving me the right price for my produce, he says, okay, take it to someone else. So Anil Rana goes off. Who's the loser? Anil Rana. It does not affect him. Out of 200 people, if one goes, so you cannot flex your muscles there. Similarly, on the customer side, his customer side, there are 1,000 people. If someone says, you are giving me at a very high price, why should I buy from you? He says, okay, you go. I'll give it to someone else. Because again, he has an n number of people over there also.
So
this is the problem which has to be sorted out.
Right. So he has got both the powers in his hand, like the bargain power from supply side as well as from consumer side. Both side he is having the bargain power.
Yeah, and that's what the market density, right? See, if you look at the Anil, the government of India came up with a report which is about doubling farmer income, right? And one of the fundamental insight that was published that is India mein market density is very low, right? If you for every 200 kilometers and the market density, that's how it's calculated, right? In terms of how many mandis or how many marketplaces are there at every 200 kilometers or at 50 kilometers. So we need to increase the density of markets, and the density of markets comes only then we can challenge the bargaining power.
You're right.
Which is what I talked about, bringing a thick market as opposed to a thin market. A thick market means there are more number of buyers and more number of sellers, which will mean that the competition will make sure that he will bring down his price. When the competition is not there, then he will be like, I will set the price I want, and you either take it or leave it.
Absolutely. Even if I take the example of myself, I have to move to almost 60 or 70 kilometers to sell my crop or produce. So that is the fact.
Yeah. So are you a farmer or are you a startup entrepreneur?
Wants to be a startup entrepreneur.
Okay. Wonderful. All the best.
Thank you, Venki. Thank you, Anil sir, for your.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Any more questions there?
Venki, further taking to Mr. Anil Rana's query and then this gentleman discussing about the trader end of the day. So what I think is, trader need not to be removed. The only change is required kind of a platform, transparent pricing platform, wherein, trader do have an bargaining power on both sides. Definitely, yes. If there is a transparent platform wherein, consumer price is tracked, and based on that price, farmer is being paid, and the trader or the commission agent just keep the commission out of that. Rather than driving the price.
Absolutely. See, I'm not opposed to traders or anything. We need more traders, and traders have been a big sense of support for farmers in their low times. Right? Today, why does a farmer trust the trader? Because even when the prices fall, he will maintain the relationship with the trader. Right? So this kind of relationship goes through a long period. So no way I'm trying to make him a villain here. we need price discovery system. See, if you look at the farm laws also, right? One of the farm law clauses, I mean, now they've been repealed, but nevertheless, the farm law clauses talks about price discovery system. Now, why do you think Mandi is existing today? Mandi is existing because it is creating a price reference system, right? Now we need alternative ways of price discovery system mechanisms, and that's another opportunity for a lot of startups, right? How do you create price discovery mechanisms that will ensure that the right prices come up? So yes, you make a very important point, and we need to have more price discovery mechanisms that will address the market.
Yeah, true. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions, guys?
Hi, Venki. My name is Kabir. I'm a farmer in Uttarakhand.
Yeah, Kabir.
I just had a question in relation to how, or if there are any startups or if anybody is working on how they can sort of standardize the measurement of quality. Very often for farmers, when they go to a mandi or to a private enterprise to sell their produce, they will typically say, oh, you know, the quality is not up to par, so we'll have to discount the price below MSP or, you know, or above or whatever it might be. But are there any technology-based startups, or is there anybody focusing on some solution to be able to standardize the measurement of the quality when you're going to sell the produce or when somebody is coming to you to buy your produce?
So, Kabir, I just want to ask a follow-up question, no? Because you are asking about standardizing, right? What is your understanding of quality? What do you think is the difference between a quality and a grade?
Between a quality and a
grade?
A quality and a grade.
Grade, GRAD.
Yeah, GRAD. You know, you did mention earlier the difference between grade and quality, right? Quality was internal, grade was how it looks. So that's what I mean. If there are any sort of benchmarks where you turn around and say, if paddy season is coming around, look, this quality paddy in this particular variety, for instance, you know, this is your benchmark that you're working.
See, that's the thing, no? I mean, the reason why I was asking to that question point was...
And everything else follows suit. So...
See, sorry, your voice got muffled out a bit. See, the reason why I was asking the definition was, see, today, if you really understand grades and quality, we are trying to impose something which we've learned in engineering, which is where the standards and grades comes into a biological product. No, every produce is a biological product, right? So which means the quality is gonna vary there, right? So standardizing is important, no doubt about it. But at the same time, we need to also understand how are we doing it, right? So today, one way to, you know, today, like we are talking about traders so far, right? One way traders will continue the ways they of course determine their standards in terms of what the grade is, and they will oftentimes you see this practice there that they mix the produce, right? I mean, either sometimes farmer mixes it or when the produce goes out there. So today, a large part of quality consciousness is not there in the market. So today there are some startups who are solving the grade, right? Today, Agnext and Intello Labs and all of them are trying to solve the problem. But the challenge comes in the sector where how is the marketplace? Is the marketplace placing any premium on the quality and grade? If the market is not respecting that premium, then no matter what effort we put on standardizing, it's not going to affect. So it's a chicken and egg problem, right? At the end of the day. And only when there is market for a standardized grade will there be a sufficient impetus to produce a specific graded produce and at the same time find the right buyers. So we have to solve both the problems. It's a cold start problem. It's a chicken and egg problem we need to solve at this point.
Sure. Thanks for that.
Hi, this is Akhil from Himachal.
Yes, Akhil.
Akhil Rana from Himachal. Yeah. What I believe is why farmers are behind it that we are what we are doing is we are selling our producers at wholesale and buying the things at retail. For example.
Akhil, can you turn on your video and speak? Your voice is cracking up. I'm not able to hear you clearly. No, I'm not able to hear you, Akhil, clearly.
It's still breaking up, right?
Yeah, now it's somewhat okay. Yeah, go ahead. What's the question you have?
Yeah, it's not a question. I was just answering that the main problem with the farmers is that they go and sell their produce for wholesale and buy products at retail. For example, you sell a wheat for 20 rupees a kg, and you go into the market and buy a packet of a biscuit that's for 10 grams. It's only for 10 rupees. So ultimate solution that I find is that farmers have to really think about it. Get on an add-on product. Value-added product is most important for the farmers to grow. That is what is the need of our farmers to come up with.
See, today, yes, you're right. Yes. I mean, today farmers, we need to give them the skill sets, at least, I mean, it may be very arrogant for me to say that way in that sense, but how do we make sure that they determine their own quality, right? Today, somebody else, today each of us determine what we offer as value and we determine its quality, right? So how do we create those things? And again, this is where it becomes like the whole problem I mentioned in terms of the quality and the chicken and egg game. So unless until we solve a market in which the quality is respected, otherwise quality is not going to come in the space. So yes, that's the challenge we see in this aspect here. Yes. Hello, Dr. Neeru. How are you?
It's nice to see you here. I hope the session was great.
The people have to tell, the audience have to tell me. I had a good time.
Okay, good.
We had wonderful time even.
Very nice. Venki, you can carry on. I just came.
Yeah. Sure. Yes. Any more questions, guys? I would love to hear from the women also here. I mean, it's been mostly males who have been doing the talking. I would love to hear from women who are also in this group here. Did you whatever I shared, was it useful, insightful? What any questions, any criticism? Please feel free to share. Okay, I think all of you are most of you are silent, I guess. So I think I will take that as a sign that probably all of you have found it.
Venki, just this is unrelated question to the today's session.
Okay.
We know that there are a lot of uncertainties or the climate change because of which you see that there are so many crop losses, people are suffering, or unseasonal rains. Are there any kind of startups working on that and protecting some crops, or what people have to, or farmers, marginal farmers have to do it to get adopted at a little lower cost or something which is appreciable or maybe affordable?
What are you which one? I mean, what are you talking about? Affordability? Are you talking about making food affordable, or what are you talking
about? Crop produce.
Achha. See, there are a lot of people who are working at the farm place. Like, I know of many startups who are working directly with the marginal farmers who are doing phenomenal work, right? Today in the south, I know a few startups there. There are many such players there. If you go, I mean, if you look around, you will see so many players who are doing this work already right now. Yes, but there are a lot of people who are right now working closely with farmers in the be it in the drought hit regions of Maharashtra or be it in Tamil Nadu. Those are the regions where I see common most number of activities per se. But I'm sure in every other place state, you will find people who are working closely with marginal farmers and addressing their problems. Their problems could be very different from the other set of farmers there. But overall, I think there are a lot of players there are a lot of startups and people who are working, in these aspects there.
And are these sustainable?
Depends on what you mean by sustainable, right? They can very well.
No, okay. Being a young guy, he may do it energetically for 2-3 years, and thereafter he find that it's not a very, income making business, and then he drops his energy level to do that kind of farming efforts and all this. So that is the definition of sustainability, so that he can't make a money what he expect actually.
No, see, today I think there are a lot of startups who are able to do this well, where creating real impact, which is not an impact that is for showing per se, but it's a real impact, and at the same time getting the right support from the markets and from some various grants. There are grant opportunities. There are so many newer funds that we were wanting to address very critical challenges on climate change, on marginal farmers, increasing their livelihoods and development. So there are possibilities there. I wouldn't say that if you have to go to work with marginal farmers, you can't get the, you won't be able to have an income for you. That as a question here, I know so many people who are doing well and who are able to create a very good impact there. So it is very well possible to arrive at a model, but you have to define, like I said, right? It depends on what game you want to play. And that's what I meant by that game as metaphor I was talking about. I have to determine, I can't work in one side and have a very different expectations of how much money I want to make. I need to understand what is the way in which I want to engage, what's the kind of business I want to build, what's the kind of impact I want to create, and based on that, I will set my goals accordingly. So it's largely a personal question in some sense.
Yes, thanks.
Anil again this side. There is another possibility, the entrepreneurs who are here training can explore. What happens is most of the farmers are not aware about what demand and supply is. With that, what I mean is if someone is sowing maize, everyone is sowing maize. Wheat, everyone goes for wheat. So some sort of an app or something digital that can be done. So area-wise, obviously, because I cannot grow spices up here in Himachal, up north. But area-wise, if somehow it can be segregated, not everyone is, what we call bhed chal. So if that is not there, someone is doing something and some sort of an app or some which, tries to balance things so that everyone gets good price for the
See, one thing I just want to share is today there are enough number of approaches that are coming in apps and all of that, right? Which is fundamentally looking at how do I learn to put a proper balance sheet. I mean, today I think that is one skill set that I wish we all also build skill capabilities on, right? In terms of I'm selling today. I mean. It's only in agriculture sector I have seen this case where if I'm priced at a certain price range, right? Then the thing here I got a better price, but that's not the whole whole picture, right? What is my balance sheet and what is my top line? What is my bottom line? Then I can say whether I made profitable or not. So we need to stop this fixation of being on prices also, right? Prices is a particular signal. So I think, and then there are today a lot of more approaches are coming up, which is balancing the cost of production, cost of fertigation. How do I optimize them, and how do I do this in a very smart way, in a better way? So there are a lot of approaches that are already available there. So yes, there are enough number of players who are right now computing the production costs, computing the various costs that are involved, and then setting your prices accordingly there. So yes, I wish we spend more time on also teaching at one level, it sounds a little bit arrogant to say that way, but to saying that we will teach financial management, but overall, I think it's better we also understand that skill set also there. Yes. Okay, there is also a question I'm getting from Sandeep Basan. Sandeep Basan wants to ask manufacturing of WS fertilizers. So today, the PLI scheme, which is production linked incentive schemes, is also is I don't know how many of you know about the scheme that has been launched with the Indian government, which is also giving about a lot of opportunities to create small scale domestic production of agri inputs. Today, a large local domestic players have been utilizing them. So do look up those schemes. That's one option where you could also get funded in terms of if you are able to put together the right PLI schemes there. Production linked incentives. You can just Google up, you can find out the more details about it. Sanjay is asking a question, is there a space to learn and copy solutions from the West for the Indian market? We are already doing that, no? So many solutions are right now we can copy it from West and doing that. We are all learning. All of us are learning. And of course we learn, we make mistakes, and we see what works for India, and then we figure out and do. But there are a lot of I can tell you so many stories of how so many solutions have been taken from West and there. We've been doing that for a very long time. Talking about the PLI scheme, Prasanna Kumar, I'll just type that out. Yes, any question?
I just wanted to add to Mr. Anil Ranas. It's not query. I think it was a suggestion. So utilizing the big data, he was saying, if somebody is growing potato in a particular area and that particular season they get a very nice and good margin, the very next season of potato, everybody start cultivating potato itself. So that the way where data can be utilized. For example, most of the states, they do have a system of we call it Godavari. So they, record the cultivation of crop in a particular geography. There is a system in the agriculture, Tehsil level system. There is if it is an online system, one can predict. So for the state of Maharashtra, if one is, growing onion, how much onion is in demand and how much, area of cultivation is required at all. So one can, have stop Godavari or cultivating the crop after a particular limit. So that big data that can balance out the demand and then the cultivation or producing that particular crop, rather than everybody, going behind the price and all.
See, just to add to that, we can talk about price. Data at some other time. See, data. I have not found enough evidences of data creating behavioral changes. In our own lives, we see, right? How much of data we get about what we do, right? Does it create changes in behavior? Data doesn't oftentimes create changes in behavior. Relationship changes causes changes. And that's why I talked about that part in my presentation where I talked about that agriculture में changes लाने में, bridges बनाने में, जो living root bridges है, वैसे ही है. Time लगता है. So we need to build that relationship and only then will change. Otherwise, today anyone will come in with the money can give advice like don't do this, but everyone have their minds of their own. So we all have to understand that and build relationships there. Today that's also sorely missing, right? So I wouldn't, while data is important, I work with data. I'm familiar with how data, the entire world of data works out in a certain level, right? But at the same time, I wouldn't have this belief in some sense that data can change behavioral changes. I don't see much evidences on the ground for that.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of stakeholders are required to, change the mindset.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
So I have one more thing. When you said data, like to add to this, I don't know if it's like a question or just a statement, but data does.
You've gone on mute, Suran.
Sorry. Data doesn't necessarily also mean that you can predict what will happen next year, because a lot of Indian agriculture is still dependent on your weather, right? Your rainfall. Mechanization is taking place, but it's going to take time to catch up at the scale our agriculture is at. So it won't always be the best way to predict patterns as well, right?
I wouldn't fully agree with that. See, there are a lot of microclimatic conditions data that is being generated. So you can very well, at a low microclimatic level, see the today major problem is most of our agronomy solutions don't work at a microclimatic conditions level, right? The traditional systems that have been built at a which is giving agronomy advice. I mean, I'm no agronomist, but from whatever little I've seen, I've seen the challenges in terms of working at a microclimatic conditions, right? So that is possible, but can data bring the change to humans in terms of their cropping practices, right? Today, the simplest ways to ask us to find out how does a farmer choose a particular crop to grow, right? So that's not just based on data, right? There is a certain set of hope, there's a certain set of date expectations, and all of that there are so many complex set of factors that are there. So I think we need to be mindful, and that's what the earlier point that I mentioned in my presentation, right? Agriculture is the only domain where even if we don't have a knowledge of technology, it's okay. But if we need to have complete in-depth knowledge of agriculture and the markets per se. That is far more essential than technology knowledge. Technology knowledge can be bought in at a later stage also. So that's again an important aspect that I would like to re-emphasize here again.
Agreed. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Venki. I think we have covered everything now. And thanks for your session today. It was very insightful for everyone, and it was quite interactive session. I'll request Neeru ma'am to
Ankur, thank you. So let me take this opportunity to formally thank to Venki. It is a pleasure to call you and to have your session, and so it's just a formal note. Really very thankful to you, and on behalf of Pusa Krishi and on behalf of participants, I take this opportunity to thank you. Thank you very much. I entered in between because now I have to take this session forward from you.
I understand.
Yeah. So you're most welcome. You can stay with me. Dear participants, today now formally we have completed our 2 weeks program. So I would like to understand from you, some volunteers who can give me some feedbacks or some suggestions, although we are taking your formal feedback in the form of, we are sharing the feedback form. But because I would like to take first-hand feedback from you guys, how was the session? And if you feel like that there is some, means we can improve this further. So one by one, please.
Hello, this is Gomati. It was an amazing session. For the past 10 days, it was very informative. Thank you for for organizing such a wonderful thing. It's I should say I have attended some accelerated program. If I compare with them, it is really worth, particularly concentrating towards the agri industry. And thank you.
Thank you, Gomati. So let me tell you the brief, the genesis of this particular program. So because you all know that we have the series of programs. So we found that every day I interact with 2-3 people. They'll come to me and they'll start कि जी मुझे कुछ एग्रीकल्चर में करना है और बता दो मुझे क्या बिजनेस करना है. So it's very difficult question to answer. So I used to say कि ठीक है भैया, तुम्हारा स्किल सेट क्या है, तुम्हारे रिसोर्सेज क्या हैं, और तुम क्या करना चाहते हो, तुम्हारे पास क्या है, मतलब क्या करोगे, और तुम्हारे आसपास में व्हाट इज योर रिक्वायरमेंट इन योर एरिया, और तुम्हारा दिल क्या कहता है, तुम्हें क्या करना है. So first you go and do this homework and then come back to me, because आप ही का बिजनेस है, आप ही को करना है और आप ही को सोचना है. कोई किसी के कहने से कोई किसी का बिजनेस. अब हम ये कह दें कि जी हाँ इसमें सीड बिजनेस बहुत अच्छा है, बट सीड बिजनेस एक्चुअल में अच्छा है लेकिन उसके अपने चैलेंजेस हैं. सीड बिजनेस में हर कोई पैसा नहीं कमाता है. बहुत बड़ी बड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, बहुत बड़े बड़े लोग पैसा कमाते हैं, लेकिन उनके चैलेंज भी हैं. तो ये सब चीजें आपको समझनी पड़ेंगी. तो इस क्वेश्चन को आंसर करने के लिए ये था कि एक बार हम कुछ ऐसी सीरीज शुरू करें जिसमें हम आने वाले जो लोग हैं, आने वाले कल को हम तैयार करें, ताकि दे कैन टेक दिस मतलब स्टार्टअप, दे कैन टेक दिस एज ए जर्नी an alternate career opportunity to come into the agriculture and to start their business, and then how they can scale up and sustain themselves. So और हमने ये सोचा था, हम लोगों ने मतलब कोशिश थी कि हम लोग ये सोच रहे थे कि ज़्यादातर स्टूडेंट्स इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे, बट रियली आई एम रियली हैप्पी टू सी कि एज इज नो लिमिट. तो सभी काफी जिनको मैं देख रही हूँ कि काफी सीजन्ड लोग हैं, काफी मतलब जिनके पास अपनी दूसरी इंडस्ट्री का काफी बड़ा एक्सपीरियंस है, they are also here. So it's always very mixed feeling to have them here, and because now they are interacting and in a way they are sharing their experiences as well. Because जो आप क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं वो नॉविस क्वेश्चंस नहीं है, किसी के बहुत मतलब उसके लिए सोच समझ के जवाब देने पड़ेंगे. हम लोगों को भी थोड़ा दिमाग पे जोर डालना पड़ेगा कि इसका सही जवाब क्या हो सकता है. So in a way, so that was the genesis, and now it's not that this is the end, this is the beginning. Now you can, if you have some venture or you are already working there, or if you have shortlisted or pinpointed your idea and you want to come to us, so then the next program that we are launching on 20th, that will be this region, which is from idea to prototype. Where if you have an idea, and then you can get the opportunity to build your product by using our facility, as well as you will also get the technical and business mentoring. Then, because finance is also one of the criteria or one of the requirement for the startups, then you can come to ARISE, which is the idea to minimum viable product, where we try to give you the grant in aid up to 5 lakhs, and then UPJA, and then MATRI. So these are all series of program that depends upon your stage of development. But definitely it is very, very competitive to get selected, because all very transparent and all online procedure is there. Nobody is know. Even I don't know who has applied, where he has applied, and to whom. It is just like the everything is, each application will be evaluated by 3 evaluators, and then based on each priority areas, so we'll select cutoff that in this area will take 10%, 20%. So then how we do the preliminary screening. After the preliminary screening, they will be called to do the presentation before the jury, and then the jury make the final selection. For grant in aid, again, they will be with us for 2 months. Morning, the one-on-one mentoring, and then evening learning sessions. And then after 2 months, what they have done in those 2 months, starting when they applied and now where they are, depending upon that, seeing their capability, seeing their learning ability, and seeing their maturity level, again the jury will evaluate them. That's how you will be selected for the grant in aid support, and then you will be with us for 1 year incubation program. So this is in nutshell. Now I'll request Kapil, because he has raised hand. You would like to say something?
Yeah. Dr. Neeru, first of all, thank you for organizing such informative, insightful, and learningful experiences or session for us. It was really good to be here. Like past 10 days, we have learned a lot. And I would say like the sessions which I have planned were carefully selected by you. There is no doubt on those, because the topics were pretty much relevant for the entrepreneurial journey for any of the startup, or for the novice or the enthusiast like me. So thank you very much for all of those. Couple of things from my side. So like one has already mentioned, like we would want to be in touch or connected. So we request like in future communications from IARI or Pusa Krishi.
Yeah, Kapil, I'll just take a minute. As all of you who has applied for this particular program, now you are in our database. So you'll be getting our regular emails or the updates. So you'll be getting that.
Yeah, thank you for those. And even if you can share the attendees' contact information, if not the phone numbers, then at least email address, then that will also be great for us, so that we could also be in touch if that is possible or not.
You are all. Yeah, actually, sometime what happens, I don't mind in sharing the information, but you are proactive and you want to connect, but some may not like that. So that little bit invitation from our side, and because all of you are on the WhatsApp group.
Right. So that's more than enough for us. So I understand and totally respect the privacy if somebody doesn't want to be. So that's perfectly all right. And one thing, while we are registering for the session, so we are registering it through Quinomial, right? So there was some glitch, we have made the payment, but there was no confirmation, or there was no confirmation or receipt information. So that if you can take care in future. So that is one point from my side. And second, the recordings which are available on Zoom. So I think they are going to get expire in 7 days or 5 days. So if you can make them available through for some more time, like let's say 1 month or 20 days, that would be great, because many of the session we couldn't able to attend because of some other exigencies. So that will also be kind of help to us. And in nutshell, overall, it was great experience. Thank you to Usha Krishi team and all of the organizers who involved in this event. Thank you.
Kapil, yeah, thank you, Kapil. These are really very informative suggestions for me. Let me tell you about the Quinomial. So basically, we are building it due to these are the tough time that you all know. So we are also building these systems. There was nothing like that. Already these systems were existing. Basically, we are building from last 2 years, and slowly, as per the requirement, the company is incorporating some of the features as per our request. So this time, because the payment gateway has been integrated for the first time, so I know that the registration number was really quite high, and the successful payments were really very less. So in the last minute when it came to our knowledge, so in fact, then we shared the direct bank account number so that they can do the payment. So yeah, I understand we are taking that part with the gateway people, payment gateway people. So yeah, that I know that in future we have to take care of this. Yeah. Regarding the recordings, so I can request to my team that they can make these recordings available for another 15 days, for another 2 weeks. एंड जो आपको जिनसे कनेक्ट करना है आप उनसे कनेक्ट अभी इस व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे कर लीजिए, बिकॉज आफ्टर 10-15 days, maybe 2 weeks, we are going to dissolve this group also. Okay, so whatever you can meet them or you can ping them, then you can connect. Okay, so this group will be here only at the max 15 days. Yeah. Anil Rana, so you want to say something?
Yes, sir. It was a wonderful session, no doubt. Everyone is saying that, and surely it was also. Ma'am, my suggestion is you must have heard of this saying: the palest ink is stronger than the strongest memory. So, my suggestion is if you could kindly share those PPTs so that for future reference. So that we can go through it and kind of revise it.
For that, Anilji, because sometimes we get the consent from the speakers, and sometimes we do not get the consent. So it becomes really challenge for us. We'll try, but
I've heard it like in that finance session. The gentleman he said that I'm sharing my Excel file also, and I'll be sharing my PPT also with the Usha Krishi. And not only this, even today also, Venki also said that.
Actually, मैं वही कह रही हूँ ना, हमारे लिए वो segregate क्या होता है कि टीम एकदम से सारे दे देती है, नहीं दे पाती है. फिर कुछ लोग पहले हम लोग देते थे, तो there were some objections. So that's why we have stopped, but I'll see what we can do on that. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Jay Kumar. Mr. Jay.
Yes, ma'am, this is Shrikala here. I'm the co-founder of Farmitopia along with Jay Kumar. And really thank you so much for the wonderful session. And I think you set the stage in the first session very easily about talking about agriculture being absolutely scientific. And, I've kept that in mind all through the sessions. And I felt this was very unique compared to so many other sessions that I have gone through. One is it is absolutely practical. It's not information overload. It is kaise use kar sakte hain or kya use kar sakte hain. And that helped me a lot. In fact, this is the only session where the founder and the co-founder, after the session, we have sat together and said, इसमें से क्या यूज कर सकते हैं हम लोग अपने आप में क्या चेंज ला सकते हैं सो दैट इज रियली आई मीन वी हैव नेवर डन दैट हाँ सेशन है म्यूट में डालो चलो ऐसा टाइप था बिकॉज देयर आर अदर थिंग्स टू हैंडल as not a single session that we've left or not discussed ki what changes will we bring. And I would like to also say that the quality of the participants were really good. I mean, the questions were so challenging for the speaker. I mean, they were not generic questions. And the information that they gave was also so good, be it for grants or be it for how to go or whom to go to. Very valuable, ma'am. And the value that I have drawn from this session is the most compared to at least another 10 or 15 that I have attended. So thank you so much for that. One small request, ma'am, because we're genuinely making changes in our business based on this. For example, the finance one where the Excel sheet was shared, design thinking. Now, what has happened is the process of design thinking is a 5-step process. मेरे को 4th step याद ही नहीं आ रहा है. If these things are kept as archive for at least a month for us to implement what you said, that will be really helpful for us, ma'am.
That we will do. That we will do because because finance is really, really very challenging. So once again, I'll ask Mr. Satish, and he is really very generous in sharing the PPTs. So at least we will share Mr. Satish PPT. Ankur, please make a note and kindly share.
No, we do understand
sure, ma'am,
privacy,
sure.
And we do understand that they might not want it there for a long time, but at least 1 month for us to take action.
वो कर रहे हैं.
Thank you so much.
लोग मैनुअल पर सारी चीजें हैं. So Ankur, please discuss this point with me tomorrow, and I'll see how we can accommodate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Akhilesh. Mr. Akhilesh Kumar.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Akhilesh Chauhan here. I am part of RPS Digital. Firstly, thanks for giving a chance for being a part of this session. And I want to thanks all the speakers and participants, and especially POSA team for organizing such kind of programs that can help budding entrepreneurs to find their passion and their idea to incubate with IARI POSA teams. So thanks for everyone who joining and speakers. Thanks thank you for organizing that program. Thank you.
Thank you. So somebody is asking for the certificates. So after Monday, because we are, Ankur, whether we have shared the second feedback form or not?
I will share it today after the session.
Okay, after the session.
The first one also didn't open, ma'am. I tried. I wanted to do it then and there. I don't know if others had this challenge. I was unable to do it.
Megha, please see that.
Yeah, I faced the same issue as well with the first feedback form.
Okay.
No, even there was some glitch, technical glitch. We have taken up and we have discussed with Kinomial also, and it was resolved somehow. I'll take over it again today, definitely.
We'll share both the feedback forms with you today as well.
So please share the instructions along with the link so that we can provide.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So आप लोग फीडबैक फॉर्म दे दीजिए. आफ्टर गेटिंग द फीडबैक फॉर्म, then we will sit and seeing your attendance as well, and then we will be giving you the certificate. By next week you will get that. नेक्स्ट वीक अभी हमें दीजिए, क्योंकि काफी नंबर ऑफ पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं, उनका अभी पूरा प्रिपेयर करने में हमें हफ्ता 10 दिन लगेंगे. बट यू विल गेट इट. यस, मिस्टर भारत मेहता, आपकी वॉइस नहीं आ रही है. मिस्टर भारत मेहता, वी आर नॉट, आई एम नॉट एबल टू हियर यू. या अनम्यूट कीजिए प्लीज. अनम्यूट दिखा रहा है बट आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. ये मुझे ही नहीं आ रही है या औरों को भी नहीं आ रही है?
नहीं मैम, he is not audible. I think you have not connected to audio, the device that you are using. We can take next one.
Any other participant would like to speak, or any other suggestion?
Ma'am, Dr. Neeru ma'am.
Yes, please.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I could.
Okay, great. Ma'am, thanks for the nice session past 2 weeks. That is good. But now one of my question, because this is a technology startup which I am the co-founder. So if we need some data from Pusa Krishi, to whom to approach? That is the question. Because I am talking the use case. We are working on some of the soil data which will predict the right kind of crops based on analytics. So now question is that even if we are going to research on some of the data and we have some agricultural scientists to coordinate with them to predict what type of crops is best suitable based on the soil data. So that data is the basic input for us. So now question is that if I will approach to somebody from Pusa Krishi or some other agricultural institute you can refer, to whom we can coordinate and work. Do you have any incubation center for this, or what kind of support you can give? That's my question.
The question is, you want to take the data. Okay. So now in the research, IRI is having the oldest soil science institution division we have at IRI. Okay. Or we are the pioneer, or IRI is the pioneer in the soil science. Okay, so we started this department in India a long back. But regarding the data, this is not the request that is coming from you only. Okay, but हमारे पास जितने भी स्टार्टअप आते हैं उनमें से बहुत सारी स्टार्टअप्स को डाटा चाहिए होते हैं. लेकिन क्या होता है कि डाटा जो होता है हमारे पास बहुत सालों के डाटा है, 30 साल के, 50 साल के डाटा है, लेकिन they have been generated for our purpose and as per our research planning. But my point. So वो आपके हिसाब के डाटा नहीं होते हैं. आपको अपना डाटा अपने हिसाब से ही जनरेट करना पड़ेगा. ज्यादातर स्टार्टअप्स जैसे प्रिसीजन एग्रीकल्चर में बहुत सारे लोग ये कहते हैं जी डाटा दे दीजिए. भाई, हमारे डाटा हमने अपनी रिसर्च प्लानिंग के हिसाब से इकट्ठे किए हैं, और आपको क्या डाटा चाहिए वो आपको पता होना चाहिए. वो हम आपको ये हेल्प कर सकते हैं कि आपको अपना डाटा कैसे जनरेट करना है. हम आपको टेक्निकली इनपुट दे सकते हैं, लेकिन डाटा शेयरिंग के लिए एज ऑफ नाउ देयर इज नो स्ट्रक्चर, बिकॉज वी फेल्ट दैट आवर डाटा इज फॉर आवर रिसर्च प्लानिंग. But my point, that might be of use and that might not be of use. Mostly it is not of your use because your requirement is different and our requirement were different. What my point? So आपको कभी कुछ technical help चाहिए, so you can connect to us, you can visit to us, then we can connect to the soil science department to you and one or the two technical, then you can discuss with them. बट डाटा तो उनके पास उनके अपने रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट्स का होता है, जिनमें उनके अपने ऑब्जेक्टिव्स होते हैं, जिनको वो अपने हिसाब से यूज करते हैं. आपको क्या चाहिए क्या नहीं चाहिए ये जरूरी नहीं है कि उनका और आपका तालमेल बैठे. आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट और उनके पास जो डाटा है वो सेम हो, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है, और ऐसा ज्यादातर नहीं होता है. तब हम उनको, आप लोगों को, बट हाँ ये गाइड कर सकते हैं कि कैसे आप कर सकते हैं, कैसे. हम लोग ज्यादातर ये कॉर्पोरेट्स के साथ भी करते हैं. उनको हम उनकी पूरी रिसर्च प्लानिंग में हेल्प कर देते हैं और पूरा उनका रिसर्च प्लान वर्कआउट कर देते हैं, वैसे हम आपके साथ भी कर सकते हैं, बट डाटा आपको अपना ही जनरेट करना पड़ेगा.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Thanks, ma'am. I'll coordinate with you separately, because even if you can tell us the steps, that will also helps. Yeah.
वो कर देंगे, कोई इशू है, वो हम करते ही हैं सभी के लिए.
Fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, you had mentioned in the first session that you would help me get in touch with the hydroponics department. How do I coordinate for that?
तो ना अभी अंकुर को लिखना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि अगर जिस से भी टच बेस करना चाहते हैं तो हम आपको लिंक करा देंगे. अगर आप विजिट कर सकते हैं तो आप विजिट कर लीजिए, अगर आप एनसीआर में ही हैं तो हम आपको डिपार्टमेंट में भेज देंगे कि आप कहाँ पे जा सकते हैं.
ओके,
वो तो
दैट बी ग्रेट. थैंक यू.
ऐसी है कि ये हम कभी भी आपको एक्सटेंड कर सकते हैं. वी कैन मेक योर कनेक्शन विद द कंसर्न टेक्निकल पर्सन at IRL or in ICR as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other? If there is no more questions, so then I'll propose the formal vote of thanks to all the participants that you contributed a lot and you tried to make this session as interactive as possible, because your participation was really we appreciated each and every speaker. I came to know that group is very nice, because it is not that we were catering to only to the students, but I could see a lot of experienced person, so that makes all together difference. So thank you very much. And to my team, Megha and Dipali and Ankur and Priyanka. So thank you all, because they were dedicatedly answering your queries, doing on the WhatsApp and planning this particular program, putting on the social media. So thank you very much. And all the last but not the least, all the speakers. आपको मैं बता दूं, ये बहुत ज़्यादा जो speakers थे वो हमारे अच्छे वाले startups थे. They are incubated at our place. So जैसे बसु, कविता, नितिन, Silva. So these are all from our side. They have been incubated, they have been nurtured, they have been supported. So I was really happy to see them here, because it was time for them to give back something, to give back to the society. That's how कहानी बनती है. कुछ ले लो, कुछ दे दो, लेना और देना बराबर ही करना चाहिए. So that was their give back to the society. So आने वाले दिनों में आप भी उसी तरीके के लिए तैयार होइए, तो आपको भी गिव बैक करना है. और किसी को भी कोई भी टेक्निकल हेल्प चाहिए, so you can write to us and then you can come to us. आप लिख भी सकते हैं, आप विजिट भी कर सकते हैं, व्हाट्सएप पे अंकुर से टाइम भी मांग सकते हैं. So वो हम करेंगे. जहाँ तक आपके सर्टिफिकेट्स की बात है, हमें अभी हफ्ता 10 दिन लगेगा उसको पूरा प्रोसेस करने में. जिन लोगों ने अटेंड किया है, सर्टिफिकेट्स उन्हीं को ही मिलेंगे, ये बिल्कुल क्लियर है. और दोनों फीडबैक फॉर्म प्लीज आप जरूरी भरिए, क्योंकि वो भी सर्टिफिकेट के लिए एक क्राइटेरिया होगा कि अटेंडेंस प्लस फीडबैक. और दूसरी जहाँ तक रिकॉर्डिंग्स की बात है, दैट वी विल पुट फॉर 2 weeks, और पीपीटीज भी मैं अपनी टीम के साथ कोशिश करूंगी कल बैठ करके कि हाउ वी कैन मेक देम अवेलेबल. बट डेफिनेटली मैंने कहा कि जिनका कंसेंट है, खासतौर से फाइनेंस का, हम आपको दे देंगे, लेकिन दूसरों के लिए मुश्किल होगा देने के लिए. बट हाँ, यू कैन विजिट देम फॉर अनदर 2 weeks.